What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another unboxing video. And I made a bad purchase on Black Friday. This was a Facebook purchase, but I sold a bunch of stuff on eBay here recently, and I had money burning a hole in my pocket, even though I have no money and really need to be saving up for some grading costs. But there is a Facebook group that I'm a member of, and they had a kind of a Black Friday sale of figures, and there was one that I've been keeping my eye on, and the guy dropped the price a little bit, so I went ahead and pulled the trigger on it, and it is awesome. It's a graded Mexican bootleg from the 1980s, and we talked already about one of the ungraded ones that I have that I bought from a Facebook seller in Mexico. The Han Solo in Bespin outfit, and as we talked about, they have the armpit spacers going on with a lot of those figures, because whoever the bootleggers were, they took a lot of the Kenner figures and had them molded, and in order for the arms to not have like a thin rubberized film between the arm and the torso, oftentimes they molded the arms separately and then added them back for the final bootleg mold. So that's why you have that kind of spacer on the armpit there. Well, the reason I show you this is because the next one that I'm getting ready to show you is already graded, and also has that armpit spacer, so to speak. And I never thought in my life, by the way, that something like armpit spacer would come out of my mouth on a video that I'm posting on YouTube for the entire world to see. What has my life become when all I can come up with is armpit spacer? There's got to be some other term for that. I don't know. Maybe you guys will have a suggestion for me, but let's take a look at it. I'm going to get it out of the box here. I've already kind of opened it up, but I'm going to get it unwrapped here off camera, and we'll take a look and make sure it got here safely, safe and sound, and get a closer look at it. But it looks really cool from the photos I saw, and I couldn't resist the price. I mean, the price wasn't much more than what these figures go for ungraded, and to get a guaranteed awesome grade on one of them, I was willing to pay that slight difference. So give me 1 second, and we will take a closer look. Well, we are back, and look what we have here. Good Lord, this guy looks like he took a bath in some hot dog mustard. Or he hung out in the sun too long without any sunscreen on and he got baked. But either way, what we got here, we got an awesome figure. This is a 1980s bootleg, Mexican bootleg, Ñañam. The Celestin rebel resistance fighter who eventually joins the rebels. I read a really good book recently where he was part of the book. What was it? I've already forgotten now. It was one of the. Oh, I think it was the Jyn Erso. It might have been. No, it was either the Jyn Erso origin novel called Rebel Rising, or it might have been the Star Wars Battlefront 2 tie-in novel. I can't remember which one, but either way, he starts out as kind of a resistance fighter on the planet of Sullust, and obviously the rest is history. We know that he joined in the destruction of the second Death Star with Lando on the Millennium Falcon, but I don't have any of his vintage figures graded yet, but I do now have a Mexican bootleg version of Ñañam. So let's take a closer look at him. He is awesome. Here he is, and you can see the armpit spacers are in full effect. I love armpit spacers, for those of you who are curious. But very similar in mold to the Kenner product, obviously. A lot of detail. This reminds me a little bit of the Bespin bootleg, where it has pretty pronounced kind of like markings from where the mold was copied, and you can see a closer look at his face there, but it's in awesome condition. Really, really nice figure. And this is a non-articulated bootleg, as all of these ones with the armpit spacer are. They're just basically a static mold that's a really, really hard, kind of interesting feeling plastic to it. It's kind of a harder plastic. It's hard to explain unless you hold one in your hand, but that's what he looks like. And let's take a look at the back real quick. But a really, really nice figure. I've gotten obsessed. I'm absolutely obsessed with these Mexican bootlegs, and to get one that is already graded was kind of cool. This is the first one I have graded now. But let's take a closer look at the labeling from CAS, Collector Archive Services. This is a 1980s Mexican Star Wars unarticulated bootleg yellow, and it came back with an 85 plus, so it's just an awesome grade. I don't know how they grade bootlegs. I guess they just look for discolorations or scratches and damage and things, but it's awfully hard to get something this high of a grade that's a bootleg figure, and you know, to have this one already an 85 plus. I think my Mexican bootleg Luke Skywalker Bespin outfit will probably get a similar grade. Maybe not an 85 plus, but certainly an 85 is my hope whenever I get that graded. But man, what an awesome figure. I just love it, and it's in awesome condition. So very happy to have it as part of the collection, and it's my first graded Mexican bootleg now, and Han will hopefully be joining him in a few months whenever I put together some funds and stop buying other stuff, and I can send him off to CAS for grading. But just a really interesting figure. These colors are all over the map for these. You know, I've been doing a ton of research on these, and the color spectrum for these Mexican bootlegs is literally all over the map. They're always one solid color if they're vintage. I mean, you know, you can get some modern stuff that have different colors and things like that. And there are some 80s semi-articulated bootlegs that do have paint applications. But for these non-articulated kind of solid plastic bootlegs from the 80s, they're all one color, and the colors are just all over the map. I mean, this guy in Mexico that had this Han Bespin, he had about 5 or 6 different colors, and depending on the color choice that you wanted, the price went up or down accordingly. And I got a fairly common silverish gray color, but I mean, he had some really cool greens. He had this yellow color, just like the Nyam. And you know, the color choices are just all over the map. I've seen a much more kind of fluorescent yellow line of bootlegs that are very similar to this. Those don't tend to go for as much, just for whatever reason. Collectors view the fluorescent colors as a little bit less desirable, but anyway, but this kind of mustardy kind of color is pretty desirable, apparently. I mean, that's not the reason I bought it. The reason I bought it is because I just love this figure, and it was already graded really high, and I really wanted a Mexican bootleg that was graded, so why not? The price was right. It was a great price. You know, I paid about the same amount for this as I did for the ungraded one, so to get a guaranteed 85 plus from CAS, Mexican bootleg, it'll look awfully nice next to the Han Bespin and the Luke Bespin once I get them graded. So, but like I said, the colors are all over the map. You just got white. I would say white, black, and kind of these darker kind of grays and the silvers are the most common for any of you looking. And once you start getting to the more exotic greens and deep kind of ruby reds and yellows and things like that, those are a little harder to find, especially in good condition. So. Anyway, I just thought I'd take a closer look at him since the mailman dropped him off, and I thought you'd like to take a look at him. Let's take one final look before I end this video. But just an awesome figure. Very excited to have him. And I hope to have more of them in the future. So, thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon.